You're listening to the Chuck Banks Experience from the Coaching, Culture, and Athletics Radio Broadcast Network. Our broadcast is brought to you by Turn 2 Workshop. That's on Facebook. Check out Stan Schmidt, Turn 2 Workshop, TURN2 Workshop on Facebook. If you'd like to be a guest, if you would like to sponsor, we are looking for other sponsors. You can email us, coachingcultureandathletics@gmail.com. That's coachingcultureandathletics@gmail.com. My name is Chuck Banks. I am a podcaster, a teacher, a coach, just kind of a jack of all trades. I will not say master of none, because I think I've mastered the ability to bring you quality content. We are also affiliated with Dog Pound Radio, Coaching Culture and Athletics. Check us out on YouTube, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, CastBox, and many other genres. We appreciate you. Here's Chucky. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Chuck Banks Experience, Episode 6. Said I would get to it. I'm recording tonight live in the garage. I've got the old Loki the Beagle in the background, so if you hear some dingling or some chewing of such things, it's the dog. All right, it's not Chuck Banks messing with that sort of stuff. Anyway, it's first week of September. It's birthday month for moi, and you know what? I'm pretty excited about hitting September. I'm excited to let August go. It was a real drag, both physically and mentally, so I'm really excited about throwing August in the trash and trying out September. You know, I just look at since 2020, it's like what was that show? It was like or it was an infomercial. He says, "Wait, and there's more." Yeah, the more can just kiss my butt right now, so I can just focus on me and my family and my friends and all that sort of stuff. And you know, that's kind of a large portion of it. But you know, so typically, you know, I've kind of felt sorry for myself for far too long. And you want to look at Dog Mentality, the story of mediocrity to becoming elite, a book that I put out earlier in the year. And it was a book that I was supposed to do some talking points and do some events and things like that. And my health kicked my ass, and it knocked me into a position where I couldn't do that. So, you know, I took the time over the past few months to reread what I wrote. I've got several copies available. If you're interested, I can sign them and mail them and all that sort of stuff. But really, you know, I wrote this book to help people in need, and it ended up being a kind of a self-help book for myself. To quit feeling sorry for myself when things go bad. Because lo and behold, this victim mentality that so many of us focus on, it kicks us in the teeth. Victim mentality is terrible, man. And we got to stop feeling sorry for ourselves and moving forward in a way that's going to make this world a better place. Because there are far too many people that suffer from this, you know, this inner turmoil that causes issues. And the overthinker kind of steps in. And, you know, I've even written a book about overthinking. So I'm back. I had some technical difficulties there. But anyway, the roadblock on this direct communication, it appears to be I think we all need to check our egos at the door oftentimes, because it definitely affects our ability to interact with each other. And, you know, again, I'm not trying to say that COVID had a play in this line of direct communication, because it was happening prior to. You know, when you look at text messaging and stuff like that, even emails, you know, it takes away from that face-to-face interaction and that generality where you're trying to communicate effectively. And again, I love Stephen Covey, listening to understand, not listening to respond. But all of these things that promote when you look at direct communication, it being as an attack. We have to become a little bit stronger emotionally when it comes to that. But this thing, too, we we struggle as a society with mental health. We're what do you call it? Is it? I can't even think of the name of the term when it comes to that. So I'm kind of rambling here. Work-life balance. I'm here to tell you that work-life balance is horse crap, and it's something that I struggle with. It's something that a lot of my friends struggle with. But again, if you're truly doing something that you love to do, you're really not working, are you? But there's lots of buts there. Education has changed over the last 20, 25 years. You know what? I'll hit the bell. We're in class, ladies and gentlemen. Put away your phones, and I'm just messing with you. We have to learn to have positive communication again. Again, listening to understand. How many times are you talking to your kids, to your parents, to your friends, to your neighbors across the street, and you're really not engaging? No eye contact. You're on your cell phone. If you're in Iowa, you're saying, "Well, I better get out of here." I'm just messing. But again, this open dialogue. Have you ever practiced just 30 seconds of of just listening and allowing your significant other, your friend, your parent, your kids to say what's truly on their mind and really listen instead of putting words in people's mouths, making it about yourselves or whatever. And this is something that I've struggled with my entire life, man. Struggling with ADHD and anxiety and all that sort of crap, throughout my entire life. And even after the stroke, it got a little worse. But I'm not gonna tell you what I'm taking over the counter now. But it's legal. I didn't say illegal. It's legal. You ever heard of that alpha brain stuff? It actually works on us adults that struggle with ADHD. But anyway, I struggle with that as a parent, man. Especially when I was learning to be a parent, because we've all been there, right? And when your parents gave you advice on how to parent, you were like, "Oh, come on, man! I can parent my own kids. I'm smarter than you." Kind of like when you went to college or you went to work and your parent offered you advice and just kind of shut that crap down because you were just listening to respond. You were like, "Man, my way or the highway, ladies and gentlemen. This is my life. I'll do what I want." Man, I'm telling you what, there were so many times in my life, whether it was with my parents or my kids, I did not listen to understand. I simply listened to respond, and I truly wasn't living during that time period, man. I was not living. I was already dead. I was working 90 hours a week. I was worried about my livelihood, my family's livelihood. I was losing sleep, that sort of stuff, and we're back in school. I don't know why I'm clicking on that thing so much, but it gives us a chance to refocus. So anyway, I started working, and I got so focused on work that I stopped listening to the ones I loved, and that to me is one of the roadblocks in my communication with my oldest and her family, right? And it's dangerous. It's something that we have to break the family curses when it comes to that. It's kind of like being the dad or the mom, and you're bitching and moaning that they went 1 for 3, but they got a double instead of saying, "Man, I really like to watch you play softball." And I kicked myself, as the overthinker kicks in, and I again, no pun intended, but I kicked myself. I was listening to respond. I was merely just in survival mode to begin with. It's I think I saw a quote. It said that you know that a man um, lives until he's or dies when he's 18 and lives till he's 70. Does that make any sense? If you're struggling out there with your where you just feel like you're in survival mode, take a step back, go outside, um, take a deep breath, and then come back in and look into the eyes of your kids and your wife and shake that stuff off. All the time, my beagles, they'll gripe and yap at each other, and then they'll shake it off. Human beings don't have that ability to do that. And I don't understand the science behind it. I've listened to Joe Rogan a few times, but a lot of people out there like, "Hey, Joe Rogan, man." Yeah. But I love his show. He has some phenomenal guests. I would love to get some science kind of wrapped up in my podcast too. But human beings don't have that ability to shake that stuff off. So we have to learn to get around the roadblocks that are causing us, whether it's communication issues and that sort of stuff. But I grew up in a different generation. My parents were pre baby boomer. My sister and my brothers were they would be considered baby boomers. So I was kind of the first Gen X kid. I was a latchkey kid in Centerville, Iowa, South Central Iowa. So I've always been a Southern Iowan by birth, right? And I love it. But anyway, Gen X, the latchkey kids, we didn't have that outlet. Our parents said, rub some dirt on it. Figure it out. And my parents, they both had to work. So it was that first aspect where they had to work. Now we still had dinner together, and until I started being in sports and working in drama and choir and band and all that sort of stuff. But we had like if I was to ask a question that my youngest and my middle child can ask and stuff like that, and how I was parenting, and as I said during the beginning of the podcast, I was learning to parent as I went, and I was just in survival mode. But I learned to listen. I learned to be a little bit more open. um, I stopped making it about myself, not entirely. I mean, that's still something that is very difficult. Sometimes your friend or your spouse, they just want you to sit and listen to them, tell their story, their side of things, instead of interjecting and giving advice, which in rationality, we're all our own selves within our soul, right? God gave us that. And at the end of the day, it's kind of each human being's story. But social media has destroyed that. It's we sit and consistently and constantly compare ourselves to our friends on social media, and we are in a mental health crisis. We are in that mode. But we kind of make everything about ourselves, and that's something that we're going to have to shift as a society and get past that particular road for. To be honest, who gives a shit what Jim, the neighbor down the street, how he's mowing his grass, or whether or not he's went on 15 vacations this past year? Okay, we got to quit. We got to quit comparing ourselves, to those people. We also have to quit taking advice from people that don't pay. I mean, let's be frank here. We spend so much time worrying about what Tom, Dick, and Harry are worrying about, or are saying about us, and we wouldn't even seek advice from them. So why in the hell do we worry about it? That's something that's kind of I've went back and forth on over the years, and it's something that I'm getting better at, especially since when you're knocking on that door when you're getting older like me, right? You stop worrying about certain things. You stop sweating the small stuff. There was a great book written in the I don't know whether it was the 70s or the 80s, but it was titled "Don't Sweat the Small Stuff," and it's amazing. It's amazing going back to that literature and reading through that stuff, much like me going back and reading through what I wrote pre-stroke, dog mentality, the story of mediocrity to becoming elite. It's amazing when you go back to that and you say, man, communication being the first roadblock that can destroy lives is something that I have to work on. And also to know that, not all of us have the answers. We have the answers to our own issues and issues and lives. And, we can only control what we can control. And one way to, another roadblock is this: we spend far too much time worrying about things outside of our control. Let's be honest. I mean, how many times have you worried about a particular bill in a given month, and then, and all that worry led to a stress, and all that stress ended up leaving you to the point to where you're in survival mode? And then you take it out on everybody around you? We have to stop, contemplate, and see what's going on. So if you ever hit that aspect of your life, which most of us are doing on a daily basis. I mean, if you look at a trip to the store and even Dollar General, and you're spending $200, I'm like 4 sacks. I don't even know why I brought that up, but it's crazy. It's crazy to overthink and worry about things that are outside our control. And here's some advice. If you're finding yourself having anxiety over things that are non-controllable, practice this. Write down what's in your control and what's outside of your control. And I also, like as a student, man, if you're rolling in and you're like, school sucks, I just hate this class. Okay, that's outside of your control. It's kind of like when we go to a job. Oh, this job really sucks, man. I can't wait till Friday. And it's like, you're looking at your watch, and it's 1:30 Monday afternoon. You're like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? I think I should do a funny there. Anyway, we all do it. Even us teachers and coaches and all that sort of stuff, and we all do that. But wishing your life away, man. Yeah, it's one of those things where if it's outside our control, then sometimes we just got to let go to God, man. That's the way it is. I mean, we can control how we're going to engage and listen and interact with each other. We can control our effort, attitude, and toughness. Thank you, Coach Doherty. We can control that, but we can't control a lot of the outside interworkings that are going to cause you pain and distress. So write it down, what you can control and what you can't control, and then highlight it. Look at the ones that seem to be outside of your control. How can you mentally and physically change that particular aspect of your life? I look back. I'm a firm believer in God. I took Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior back in 1989. I'm a wayward sinner though, man. I've kind of feel like it's peaks and valleys, kind of like the way my brain works, probably. Again, I appreciate my three listeners out there. Okay, thank you very much. That's my Elvis impersonation tonight. But we can transfer. So looking back, you can't control your job, right? You can. You control your attitude, your effort, attitude, and toughness. Okay, so I'm going to throw that out there. But there are times, where you're going to have to leave a situation in your life, and you're just going to have to take your best step forward. And when you hit rock bottom, you know it. You have to take those experiences by the balls and step forward and become better. Failure. I've failed more times in my life than I care to share out there, right? Um, Several podcast ventures, and then I was like, I would get or even books, man. I had a book. And I'd gotten like 4 or 5 star reviews on a lot of my books, and then I put this other book out there, and then I let one negative one negative remark or review, and I let it affect the book. I mean, why do we do that? Why can't we have that toughness? I mean, I put in the effort. I had to be tough and effort, attitude. So I had to change my attitude, right? So I put that book back in the Amazon webs. I call it the interwebs. And I did get a couple 4 star reviews, 3 star reviews, all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. It's my personal philosophy based on who I am. Kind of like the podcast. It's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Period. Not everybody likes to listen to me sit and ramble about dog mentality, the story of mediocrity to becoming elite. Because people are afraid that someone, what do you call it? Someone will have success before them, man. I will sit and I will shake hands and applaud, pat on the back, and push thousands of people to have success even before I gain it. And I'm okay with that. That's kind of the issue in society, though. I mean, even your friends, man, your friends will share. Your friends, I got to be careful how I state this, right? Because I want to state for an understanding. There you go. Okay, so definitely listen to understand and don't listen to respond when I say this. I don't mean to hurt people's feelings, but your friends will share strangers' stuff, or they will purchase, different things from strangers until you make it. It's weird to say that. Okay? It's weird. Anyway, I sound like a broken record rambling and saying these incoherent, kind of Billy Madison reference there. But anyway, I just want everyone to know that I am their biggest fans, and I hope that they have success. I really do. And I will applaud them every step of the way. And there's another barrier. Birds of a feather flock together. If you hang around a bunch of negative Nancy's, you're going to be negative. Yeah, if you hang around a bunch of people that all they want to do is sit and gossip about other people, you're going to be a part of the gossip. If you hang around with assholes, you're going to be an asshole. I don't know how to simply state birds of a feather flock together. That's why I choose always to not, or to make it a point to not be the smartest person in the room. Okay, that's important. I always choose a friend group that are going to push me, that's going to be honest with me, that's going to tell me, hey man, you screwed up. I love that. And again, that's something that is inside your control. Who you hang around with, who you interact with, who you choose to get advice from is in your control. So that's another thing. Roadblocks, baby. Communication and birds of a feather flock together. Okay. Be sure to check out Stan Schmidt's Facebook page. At Stan Schmidt. It's Turn 2 Workshop, TURN2 Workshop. Type that in Facebook. We appreciate Stan and all he does for us. If you're looking to want to sponsor an up and coming podcast, the Chuck Banks Experience, man, we're not going away. Okay, we are going to fight and claw and push ourselves into the next level. Success, well, that's in the eye of the beholder. That is in the eye of the beholder. And you know what? It's not about money. It's not about fame. It's about merely doing something that I'm passionate about, and that's making better people. And again, if one listener improves their life through my show, that's great. I am selling Dog Mentality, the story of mediocrity becoming elite, 50% off, $10, signed and given to you. That does not include postage. So if you live outside the tri-state area here in Southeast Iowa, I'm going to have to charge you postage, but 50% off, man. I just want people to read the book, to decipher it, and to roll with it. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Chuck Banks Experience, episode 6, Roadblocks and Birds of a Feather. We're out of here.